Okay, now I'll give you instructions, but the clock times start with your first check mark. And then the first tick mark after that is 1 and 2 and so forth. Every tick and every check mark is a tick of the clock, right? So we have 18 ticks up to the depth of 96. At the beginning, depth is 145, and the depth is in millimeters, but that doesn't matter too much at this point, okay? For the physics class it does, but we'll worry about that when in physics class, okay? Because physics class has to explain all this. You all just have to do a mathematical model, okay? So, you'll see what that means. Okay, so we have all these marks. You can count them. You have your paper. And everybody's going to probably have slightly different, you know, might have missed a mark or, you know, whatever. But everybody ideally should have exactly the same numbers, okay? And we have these depths. So we can clearly make a graph of y versus t. And that graph is going to have, first point will be 0, 145. It really will be because we're starting with the first check mark, right? So everybody will start at 0 at the first check mark, and the depth will be 145, right? And if you count right, then everybody's going to have exactly the same information. But if you mess up the count, or if you messed up the marking at one point or another, there might be slight differences. Okay, then we have the rest of these points, okay? Depth goes down kind of fast, not as fast, not as fast, not as fast. You're going to have points that look something like this, okay? So you will then, now actually the points aren't going to follow a perfect curve, so I'm going to kind of mess them up just a little, show you what you do. They won't be this messed up. They'll be more regular than this. I can't draw a smooth curve through all of these points. I could draw a curve. I could come over here and then wobble down to here and wobble back to here and wobble down to here. But what's really happening out there is the flow keeps slowing down. Okay? And that means that the slope of this graph is going to, so the graph is going to get less and less steep because the slope of this graph reflects the rate at which water is slowing, or water is flowing, and since it's slowing, it's going to get less and less steep. Does that make sense? Can you kind of intuitively understand that it should get less sleep since it's less sleep? Yeah, I didn't get enough sleep last night. It was steep. Yeah?
If we weren't stepping to like make tick marks and stuff like that, do you just want us to do 0, 18?
Oh, people will, yeah, we'll do something about that because you do need some data. So I'll give you some practice data if you're doing that, okay? Okay. So I'm going to draw the curve that I think does the best job of coming as close as possible to these data points without wobbling around. I didn't do a very good job because, well, this point's below, this point's below, this point's below, these points are a little above. Actually, that's probably not bad. Okay? You understand what I did? I'm trying to get the actual trend. Because anything, you know, if you were calling the mark, did you call it right at where I thought 94 was? Or 96? Okay? I measured 96. I'm not sure what your eye picked up when you looked at that mark, or what part of that mark, because not all those marks are even. So these numbers could be off by a little bit, right? And there could be little anomalies in your marking and the counting and stuff like that. And maybe the step kind of sped up or slowed down a little bit, although it sounded pretty good. So, get the idea? These points are not going to make a perfect curve. You draw the perfect curve that you think kind of goes through the middle of the points as best you can. Okay? And you don't try to hit any point. Matter of fact, with real-world data, you will never exactly hit that point because there are always little uncertainties in the data. But if it's really good real-world data, it might come so close that it looks like you're hitting every point. Okay? But the whole idea is you never go out of your way to hit a point. You try to get the trend. Now, everybody's going to draw their curve a little bit differently, right? Okay? Well, then you're going to select 3 points on the curve. And don't select 3 points right next to each other. Kind of spread them out in a way that you think is appropriate. Choose a point, oh, maybe here, somewhere in the middle, and maybe down toward the end. Okay? So we get 3 points on the curve. Not data points. The idea is that the curve is supposed to indicate what was really happening. Okay? Since there are little uncertainties in the data points, we can't be sure of any of these data points, so we smooth it out by sketching a nice smooth curve, and then we pick 3 points on the curve and we base our model on those 3 points.